Thank you for all coming today. There's so many people here. This is not a check presentation. We thought it was. That's why we told everybody to come out today. But anyway, we're so pleased that everybody is out here on behalf of our Mayor Crombie, the City of Mississauga, and all my fellow councillors. We'd like to welcome the Minister of Infrastructure and from the federal government. I'm sorry, from the provincial government. What they did here, the big notes here are all running together here. Minister of Infrastructure, Bob Chiarelli, and we have the Federal Minister of Infrastructure, of course, Amarjeet Sohi. We have all the other distinguished guests, and I'm going to ask when the two speakers come up if they'll introduce their fellow colleagues that are here. I will introduce, we have the Mayor from Brampton, Linda Jeffrey is here. Thank you for coming out, and the other members will be introduced appropriately. It's a big day here in Mississauga. We're at the Ed Dowling facility here, right here in Ward 6, the best ward in all of Mississauga. And as many of you know, Mississauga is the 6th largest city. We have nearly 800,000 residents now, and we continue to grow. We have over 88,000 businesses. We support over 400,000 jobs in our city, and we've become a global destination for business and talent from all over the world. As you can see, this facility houses many of our city's MyWay buses, which are an important mode of transportation for our residents. Every year, 40 million riders travel on our 88 routes throughout the city, thanks to our highly integrated MyWay network. And also, as we have many plans to continue and grow, we're going to need further infrastructure to get people to where they want to go, whether they want to be going to a facility, dropping off your child to a daycare center, maybe cycling to one of our great parks. But transportation infrastructure is very important. To ensure that we're able to get the people moving and safely in our communities, we're depending on all levels of government. This infrastructure also allows us to attract business and investment, which creates jobs and ensures that our economy continues to grow and flourish. Municipal infrastructure powers the Ontario and Canadian economies. To ensure cities like Mississauga have a strong infrastructure network, we need to work together at all levels of government to plan our priorities on new builds and repairs well into the future. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here today with our provincial and federal counterparts on this wonderful announcement. I'd like to now introduce the Honourable Amarjeet Sohi, Canada's Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, to make today's announcement. Since ensuing, we're going to tell all these folks about you. I know you're anxious to give us the money. But since assuming his portfolio, Minister Sohi has been very busy overseeing the design and early implementation of the federal government's ambitious $180 billion, you got to repeat that, $180 billion infrastructure program, the largest federal investment plan in Canada's history. It's always a great day when Minister Sohi comes and visits us and tells us what the plan is for the future. Please help me welcome Minister Sohi.
Well, thank you, Ron. I'm going to actually invite all of my member parliament colleagues to come to the stage and stand beside me here, because it's very, very important for all of us to be making this joint announcement. I am before I go into my remarks, I just want to let you know that I'm a former bus driver. And having buses in the behind kind of gives me a little bit of urge to get onto the scene and get onto the road, right? And it's always those memories come back whenever I visit the garages and the work that people do to move people around and building stronger communities. So I'm thrilled to be here in Mississauga with my good friend and partner in this agreement, Minister Chiarelli, and many of the mayors and councillors to announce that we have come to a new long-term funding agreement under Investing in Canada Infrastructure Plan. A little more than 2 years ago, we committed to work hard to build a stronger middle class and create opportunities for Canadians. The first thing we did to grow the economy and create jobs was to lower taxes for the middle class Canadians, leaving more money in their pockets to spend in their own communities. We created the Canada Child Benefit that provides support to low-income and middle-income families, lifting thousands of children out of poverty. Our government understands that well-maintained and efficient infrastructure is the foundation of building strong communities. That is why we also put forward an ambitious infrastructure plan. Investing in Canada Plan is our 12-year infrastructure plan that will make historic investments to help grow the economy, help create middle-class jobs, build inclusive, accessible communities where everyone has the opportunity to succeed, and support low-carbon, green, and sustainable investments. While developing this plan, we engaged extensively with the provincial, territorial, municipal, and Indigenous partners. They told us that in order to undertake transformational projects, they need long-term, sustainable, and predictable funding. Well, my friends, we are delivering on that ask today. The agreement we are signing today will provide more than $11.8 billion in federal infrastructure funding to communities across Ontario. This funding will support 4 priority areas: public transit, green infrastructure, community cultural and recreational infrastructure, and rural and northern communities. This is, as part of this announcement, I'm happy to announce that City of Mississauga Transit Authority will be getting close to $340 million in federal funding to improve transit in this area. This is part of the investment being made to better integrate transit across the GTA to improve the way people move, live, and work. Projects funded under this agreement will strengthen our economy in ways that provide new opportunities to our families, our youth, and our seniors. We believe that these investments will help us achieve the vision we have for Canadian communities. Communities that have efficient public transit systems that will help reduce gridlock, decrease air pollution, and allow Canadians to spend more time with their families. Communities that have cleaner air and water and are resilient to the impacts of climate change. Communities that have better access to cultural and public spaces that promote our diversity and bring us together. And the remote and northern communities that have better transportation, modern digital infrastructure, and improve energy security. Our plan is ambitious. Since we started implementing it 2 years ago, we have made significant progress. In Ontario alone, across all of our programs, we approved more than 2,000 projects worth nearly $14 billion in joint funding. This funding is helping communities in Ontario address their local infrastructure priorities. For example, here in Central Parkway Transit Garage in Mississauga, new electrical charging stations have been installed and lighting will be upgraded to LED. But there's still more work to be done. Along the ambitious plans Ontario has for its public transit, our government maintains its commitment of $660 million made to Scarborough Subway Extension Project during the campaign. We reaffirm our commitment to Smart Track, and we're happy to support planning work for the Downtown Relief Line and Yonge Street Subway Extension. We will support these priorities of the city and the province as they're submitted for approval and as they move forward on construction. As many of you know, Budget 2018 was announced a couple of weeks ago and reaffirms Government of Canada's commitment toward building an equal, competitive, sustainable, and fair Canada. Over the past 2 years, The Canadian economy has created nearly 600,000 jobs, and unemployment rate is at a historic low. Canada has the fastest growing economy among G7 countries, and Canadians are feeling more optimistic about their future. To face the challenges of today and tomorrow, we need to continue to work together to build stronger communities that provide opportunities for everyone. Friends, generations ago, our nation made investments in infrastructure to improve the future prosperity and quality of life for every generation that followed. Transcontinental Railway, Trans-Canada Highway, and the St. Lawrence Seaway. These projects changed the face of Canada and helped to propel the country into a new era of prosperity and opportunity. The time to invest is now again. We know the world is changing, and we know that we must invest today to build the economies of the future and ensure that Canada remains among the best places in the world to call home. And I look forward to seeing the projects that will transform and positively impact our communities for generations to come. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you very much, Minister Sohi. Great news, wonderful news. And the money is going to the right places, infrastructure. I just want to introduce now the Honourable Bob Chiarelli, Ontario's Minister of Infrastructure, to make a few remarks on behalf of the province. Minister Chiarelli currently serves as the Minister of Infrastructure and has held a number of important cabinet posts in the Ontario legislature. Last year, he released the Better Building Lives, Ontario's long-term infrastructure plan, which is dedicated to delivering the infrastructure individuals and businesses in Ontario. We really need those very important areas that the government is going. And when we need it, the plan is that those dollars will be there. The Ontario government has committed $190 billion. Again, I repeat, $190 billion to infrastructure in this province. And Mississauga has benefited greatly from this investment. In fact, all of Peel Region has. And be it the doubling of the gas tax or the fully funded $1.4 billion Hurontario LRT, which was announced in 2015, and which is set to break ground very, very soon. Mississauga is working with the province to build a better, more connected city. Like Minister Sohi, we are always pleased to see you, Minister Chiarelli. You always bring good news, and we welcome you. Help me welcome Minister Chiarelli.
I'd like to ask my colleagues to come up to the stage, please. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Councillor Starr, for hosting us here today and for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Bonjour et bienvenue à tous. I acknowledge we are meeting in the Treaty 13A area, and I wish to acknowledge the long history of First Nations and the Métis in what is now Ontario, and show respect to them today. I also want to recognize the neighbouring communities of the Mississaugas of the Credit and Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. I want to take a moment to introduce my colleagues who are here today, Harinder Takar, Bob Delaney, and one of the busiest people in Ontario these days, our formidable Minister of Finance from the great city of Mississauga. Charles, thank you. And I'm sure that you'll be signing the checks very soon as well, with Mr. Sohi. So I'm very pleased to be sharing the stage and this very important announcement with Minister Sohi. I often say that the people of Ontario are best served when all levels of government work together. And I know that Minister Sohi would agree that our respective teams work extremely well together. For many people, infrastructure is something expensive that can take years to deliver, but infrastructure is much more than that. At its core, infrastructure is about people. And that is why our government is making an unprecedented $190 billion investment in schools, hospitals, transit, roads, bridges, and broadband that people in Ontario need and deserve. Investing in the right projects at the right time can help people and can help businesses. For example, the buses you see behind us here were acquired by the City of Mississauga through the Phase 1 of the Public Transit Infrastructure Fund. And a few short months ago, these buses were being manufactured or awaiting purchase in an assembly line parking lot. Now, they are important cogs in the massive machine that is My Way, Mississauga's public transit system. These buses help people get to work in the morning and back to their loved ones in the evening. And I know that Mississauga will be acquiring 67 of these vehicles in 2018 to better serve its residents. And under the agreement we are signing today, Mississauga will get an additional $340 million from the federal government, as has been noted, and $280 million from the provincial government for public transit. This is on top of the $1.4 billion the province of Ontario has already committed to Huron-Ontario LRT. Today's announcement will unlock billions of dollars for priority infrastructure projects in every single region of this province. The Investing in Canada plan delivers $11.8 billion in federal funding for Ontario. And as part of the agreement with the federal government, the province is committed to cost matching this funding at 33%, or approximately $10 billion. The bottom line is that, taken alongside project costs covered by other funding partners, including municipalities, today's announcement represents a $30 billion investment in our infrastructure. It is a decade's worth of guaranteed funding for Ontario, focusing on public transit, green infrastructure, community, culture and recreation, and rural and northern infrastructure investments. And as part of today's agreement, Ontario will match the new federal funding as part of our significant investments in this province's critical public infrastructure, which is the largest in our history. These investments are necessary if we want to maintain a booming economy and a high standard of living. And in many ways, the right infrastructure is an equalizer. Smart strategic investments can help communities attract young families, job talent, and business investment. Breathable air, clean water, reliable public transit, and places to play team sports, for example, all these things make a community an attractive place to settle down, take a job, or start a business. And this is the case for any community, whether small, large, rural, or urban. And together we are committed to ensuring that this investment works for everyone in Ontario, irrespective of geography. Now that this agreement has been signed, we will be turning our focus to developing programs for each of the 4 funding streams. So in conclusion, I want to thank Minister Sohi again and his team for their hard work and continued partnership. And we look forward to working with you to build the public infrastructure people in Ontario need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Chiarelli. You bring great news too, and we're very pleased with that. And thank you for our local members for coming out. And you've warmed up the whole building with all that news. We now have the president of AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Lynn Dolan. You're over here, and we'd like to have you say a few words to all of us.
Thank you very much, and I would ask the mayors and regional chairs, heads of council that are here today would come and join me. Mayor Jeffries, the chair of the Large Urban Municipal Caucus of Ontario, and we have Chair Emerson. Thank you, from York Region, and thank you very much for being here today. Janice Baker is also a very valuable member of the AMO board. So good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour. I'm pleased to be here today to acknowledge this multi-year $11.8 billion federal investment in infrastructure. Thank you, Minister Sohi, for your leadership on this important agreement. The province of Ontario is also contributing through this bilateral agreement, as will municipal governments. I want to thank Minister Chiarelli for involving AMO in the discussions with the federal government. Thank you. This is 3 orders of government working together so that we have infrastructure that will help make our communities safe and healthy. Together, Ontario's 444 municipal governments own and maintain more infrastructure in this province than our federal or our provincial partners do. It is a large province, and our communities are diverse. Each city is different, each small community is different, and so are their needs. For many urban municipal governments like Mississauga, public transit is critical. Moving people is important. Reducing congestion is important. Planning transit systems and implementing them is demanding and expensive. For others in smaller communities in rural and northern Ontario, their roads and bridges are effectively their local transit systems. The recent flooding in parts of the province have resulted in bridge closures. Bridges are critical and expensive. Wherever you live, municipal infrastructure is critical to how people access goods and services day in and day out. Investing in infrastructure is a good investment. For every dollar invested in public infrastructure, Canada's GDP goes up by $1.43 in the short term and almost up to $4 in the long term. Up-to-date infrastructure helps us build healthy and safe communities where families can thrive and businesses can flourish. We look forward to working with Ontario on the next steps, including the design for each of the funding streams with this agreement, and we have a collective desire, all of us, for progress in reducing the infrastructure gap, and we welcome this bilateral agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. I know that you speak all over the province, and thank you for coming out. It's a very important announcement and signing today. Well, it's the important part, the historic part, comes right now. It's the signing of the bilateral agreement with the ministers, and we'll have signatures. If you come to the table here, we have the documents, and that way we all know that it's going to be legal, formal, and forthcoming. Now, for all the media and for those folks that want to ask the ministers some questions, they've agreed to gladly answer any questions or comments. So I'm going to invite them back up to the podium, up here. And does anybody have a question, comment?
Well, that comes from a number of different sources. I don't have the exact total now that I can give you, but I can tell you that we have provided commitments and/or funding where we have provided 100% of the cost of financing for some of the projects. Others are shared with the federal government. Others are shared. I'm just getting it signed there. It's $10 billion. Is that okay? Right, that's right. From the provincial point of view, in terms of the relief line, we're committed to sitting down with the city and working out reasonable accommodation and sharing and partnership. But as you're aware, that particular project is years away. There needs to be a lot of work. There's no definitive number on it yet. So because there's no definitive number on the actual project, because a lot of work has to be done to get to that point, we cannot give a specific commitment at this particular point in time to an amount. What we can do is give a commitment that a Liberal government in Ontario will partner with the City of Toronto in an appropriate manner for an appropriate amount for the relief line when it's ready to proceed.
So will any of that $4 billion that's going to the city for public transit go to the construction of the relief line?
Sorry, what's the question?
So will any of the $4 billion that's going to the city of Toronto from the province for public transit, will any of that money be going to the construction of the relief line?
Well, I can't even give a definitive answer to that. Likely no. It will be new funding that will have to be provided because it is down the road. It probably will go beyond the 10-year fiscal plan. We plan for usually about three fiscal years, absolutely committed. But when you look at the time frame of the relief line, you're looking at fiscal situations that are well down the road for unknown amounts. So I cannot tell you what envelope the funding will come from. I will tell you a commitment is there in principle. When the numbers are known, at the appropriate time, the provincial government will be at the table for the relief line.
Any other further questions? Yes.
Will the infrastructure funding be tied to ridership and population?
The way we have designed our infrastructure plan is to reflect where the needs are the greatest. And for public transit funding, it is based on the ridership of the transit systems. And that's why when you look at the funding we allocated for this case of City of Toronto is close to $4.9 billion that the city is going to receive based on the high ridership within that city. So we thought that the best way to support our communities is focus our funding on the greatest needs. For transit is major urban centers, but at the same time, recognizing the needs of rural and northern communities, we have created a $2 billion dedicated funding for them, as well as water, wastewater infrastructure. That's where the needs for mid-sized communities are, so they'll be accessing those funding as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Ministers,
Thank
you
you
very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Big round of applause. So just before we break up, on behalf of the City of Mississauga and all of us here, I want to thank both the ministers for coming out today and choosing Mississauga to give us such an important announcement. Thank you very much to the respective governments that came out today. And by working together, municipal, provincial, and federal governments will put together over $800 million to be invested in Mississauga over the next decade. And this includes the matching funds from all of us. So when the three levels of government all work together, we can really accomplish a lot. Once again, thank you very much. And the meeting's over. What I'd like to do is to have the representatives of all the governments, and maybe somebody who's a great photographer can tell us where to place us in front of a bus, or... Thank you very much.